All right, welcome everybody. It is a snowy day out, and what better thing to do than demo a shower? So in this video, this is one of many videos I made in the shower renovation project I am doing. So a little series here for you. So we're going to get to this. We're going to show you how to strip out, get rid of a fiberglass shower insert. So let's tear some stuff up, but let's be smart about it. Let's be clean about it. In terms of, breathing stuff and also clean cuts. I do not want to mess up this drywall at all, so I want to maintain straight lines. So how do you do it? Keep in mind, I'm not a pro at all. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm a regular kind of do-it-yourself guy, and I'm attempting this for the first time. Well, the first time in a long time, I should say. I have done this before. So what I'm doing here, I'm just kind of figuring out how far out. There's a little flange. That shower insert is actually installed, and then drywall is installed over it. So I want to find out how far out that fiberglass shower insert goes behind the drywall. So I have a little saw here, and I'm just kind of digging and poking and prodding, and the tip of that saw is going to be real slippery when you hit that fiberglass on the other side of the drywall. So I'm going to go in about a half an inch or so, however thick your drywall is, and I'm just trying to feel for, is that fiberglass or is that, wood? And so you're going to be using some texture here. Note that wiggling technique so I can kind of feel it slide back and forth. So definitely right there we have some fiberglass. And by the way, I am going to mark how deep that drywall is on my tool with a permanent marker. And I'll explain why I did that in a later step. But here I'm just kind of figuring out again where am I going to make my cut, right? I'm not going to go any further to the left because I want that to be finished drywall. But the holes to the right, I don't really care because I know I have to get rid of that stuff anyway. So if you're asking, why are you putting random holes there? It's not random, I assure you. I'm just trying to figure out where that fiberglass line stops and where the wood begins, so to speak. And you can kind of if you take a screwdriver and widen out those holes a little bit, you can put your camera, look down in there yourself and see, and shine a flashlight. You should see the white fiberglass right there. So it looks like we're about 1.5 inches. So I want to make my cut 1.5 inches. Now on this side, look how close I am to that corner and to that edge there. So that's dangerous business. So I'm going to have to make some decisions. Do I, how far do I cut without that corner piece losing some integrity? I recently received this handy little tool for the workshop, and I could not recommend it more. Instead of the manual little saw that you noted earlier, we've got a little what's the name of this thing? A multi-tool, and an oscillating multi-tool, and it's got several included blades and whatnot. So I'm not going to go through all that, but this is a highly recommended tool. You'll see it slices through drywall like butter, and you can also control the depth of your cut, so you can be assured that you're not cutting into pipes or 2x4s on the other side of that. You don't want to be taking down the house here. So I'm gonna make some lines with a pencil indicating where I'm gonna cut, and I am gonna be smart. Like I said, I want to mask up. I've got my respirator on, and I'm gonna turn the fan on to the bathroom just to help bring anything up to the top. And once I am ready, I'm going to take my multi-tool, and I will go ahead and begin the cut here. All right, and it's indeed cutting like butter. Why did I mark my manual saw with the depth? Because I'm going to make sure that that blade on my multi-tool doesn't go any deeper than that. In other words, I'm going to cut the exact depth of the drywall. I want to cut that. Drywall has a kind of a paper backing, so I want to make sure my blade goes into that paper backing or pretty close to it. So I'm cutting through the paint, the drywall, and the paper backing on the other side of the drywall with that cut. And you'll want to start slow and make sure you have control over that blade if you've never done that before. This was the first time I've used a multi-tool like this, and it's an open blade, so you got to be really careful that you don't, slip and cut yourself. You got to make sure you have good footing and all that good stuff. But it's pretty simple, like I said, straight north and south cut according to the line that you drew, and that will you'll be able to remove that drywall. That's what we'll be doing next. And if you hit any resistance, you know you probably hit that fiberglass edge. And you might want to widen that line out depending on what you're planning on doing. Put it maybe a little bit more to the left. But for now, and I might have to do that later, but for now I'm just doing this as closest to the fiberglass insert as I can. And you might need to put on a bi-metal blade if you're cutting through any there might be some staples or some screw heads that you're hitting, but you shouldn't. At least I didn't. And next I'll take my little chisel and my hammer, and we're gonna just start prying that stuff out. You can see there wasn't necessarily a great cut on the corner. It's kind of hard to do on that corner. But the end of the hammer is pretty much the perfect width, about 1.5 inches or so, where you can just take that and just kind of go all the way down and just bust up and clear out all that drywall. And you'll hit some screw heads with your hammer there, so just be careful. You can unscrew these now, certainly. I'm going to leave them in because I want the entire insert to be braced while I make my cuts. I'm going to cut this thing up. This is one piece, this huge piece, so I got to actually get out my reciprocating saw and cut this thing up. So I want it not to be sliding around. I want it to be in place while I make that cut, and then I'll unscrew it later. So we'll go through and we'll just clean up. You can see that one didn't go super deep because I was real nervous around that pipe. That's where the trim piece and the shower head goes up through the wall. So I definitely didn't do that. So you could see the cut wasn't super clean there, and the corners are kind of hard too. But anyway, as far as that other side goes, the one that's really close to the edge, I just took my manual saw and just kind of cleared out. And I was thinking about cutting right through the fiberglass. This tool certainly does that. But then I thought, no, because then that insert is still going to be under there, and I need that stud to attach my cement backer board later. So I need that exposed. So I actually decided to get close to the edge, cut through the plastic on that edging underneath the drywall. And it's a little wiggly, but what else could I do? Probably plenty of things. We might have some professionals watching this video, and you might be shaking your head in disgrace, but you'll see in a later step what I ended up doing there. I am going to be tiling this shower as part of this renovation job. But anyway, continuing, you can just see I cut that line of caulking in front of the shower base itself. And next I'm going to take my camera and I'm going to peer down into the wall. You can see down there. This is an important step, right? You want to make sure there's no pipes and stuff underneath. Check out the shower head side of the insert. Let's peer behind that wall. If you're going to be cutting through this, you want to make sure there's no PVC, there's no copper pipes, there's no electric wires, right? There shouldn't be, but there might be. So you should be aware of that. So cut out a little hole and pop that phone down, turn your flash on and record it, and then you can pull it back and watch it. You might have some issues with focusing, but for the most part you should be clear. So I'm going to make my cut here. That's a clean shot all the way down. And so I'm going to be making 2 huge vertical cuts and then some horizontal cuts. Here's my reciprocating saw. I've got a 6-inch metal cutting blade. So there's 24 teeth, I think, on that blade. So that should chew through nicely without flaking or kicking up too much stuff like a wood. In other words, it's meant to cut wood and fiberglass and metal and fiberglass and not wood. So it's got really fine, lots of teeth. So here's the first cut. Nice and vertical. You can't actually see the saw there, but you can hear it. Sorry about that. My camera was off just a little bit in the recording process, but you can hear it and you get the point. We are vibrating, rocking and rolling. Straight vertical cut down. Pretty much carefree because I already looked behind there and made sure nothing was going through, so I just had to get through the fiberglass insert and a little bit of wood block. There's a seat right there. You can see there's a little bit of wood that it took care of too. So there's another angle there of that first cut. And I'll tell you, there's nothing as exhilarating as making a cut to your fiberglass shower insert, right? This is the point of no return. If the drywall wasn't the point of no return, this certainly is. There's no way to fix this. All right, pretty successful cut. I missed a little spot there on the corner, but when I tear this thing out, it should bend and fold pretty nicely and take care of that for me, but everything else looks smooth. Now we are still bolted in, so at this point I'll take out those screws that are preventing that from folding and then go ahead and just tip it over. And it'll break on all the weak spots. Again, make sure you have your mask on during this part. It's going to kick up a lot of fiberglass dust, especially during the cut, and you don't want to be breathing that stuff in. We've also got insulation there on the other side. You don't want to be breathing that in. So turn your bathroom fan on. I also have a shop vac going, and I've got the biggest attachment or a small attachment on there. So it's just constantly going and hopefully getting some of those airborne particles up and not you know, where underneath the door and whatnot. So just trying to be smart there. Obviously, I've got my mask on as well. Here's my second vertical cut along the shower head side. You can see the trim hole right there. And again, I know I'm free and clear. I've already looked down there with my camera, so there's nothing back there. Obviously, I don't want to sink my saw blade too deeply, but 6 inches is not going to touch anything back there. And I made a horizontal cut, you can see right down the bottom, right up there, just to connect them. So that was pretty simple. And then this whole piece is going to come out in one go. My shower insert has a handle, and you can just pick that up and carry the whole darn thing out. Super easy. There's that handle there. Just grab onto that. And be careful you don't hit the shower head. I am not removing the shower head at this point. I wanted to keep that on there. Basically wanted to, as I undid that shower head, I wanted to have access to the walls so I could see if there's any water, and I want to control any dripping, or I don't think there are any leaking, but if you take that shower head off, things might drip out, and I wanted to control that. So, you know, you just don't want to poke any holes. It's really sharp stuff, that fiberglass. Anyway, we'll finish up the right third of this, and I had to get out my multi-tool there to take out a couple staples and to get that edge nice and cleanly cut. And then we'll take that third piece out. I did another horizontal cut on the bottom, so this is the third big piece. So basically 3 big panels, and they go through doors, you know, without issue at that point. All right, so that piece is out. Now let's get the drain out and get that last piece out. So the drain, I'm just going to remove the strainer there with a needle nose pliers. You could pry it up with a flathead screwdriver. And you can see here it kind of looks like a hot mess. So before I show you what I did, let me show you a new one and how I suspect this drain was going to work, because I could see those little teeth. It comes with the new one comes with this little wrench, this little flat piece of metal that it's a key, basically. It allows you to unscrew or screw that little castle nut in really well and tighten it down to compress the black gasket that's underneath, which we'll see here in just a minute. So this is kind of how a new one would work. Obviously, there's lots of different drain types that you can buy. This is the brass one that I am going to be installing. There is the compression gasket there, and then a couple of other little rubber gaskets, a paper gasket and a rubber gasket there, and then another nut on the other side of that. So that's what I suspect has been installed here, although I can't see the underside of it at this point. But what I'm going to do is give it a few knocks with the hammer or needle nose pliers. I do not recommend using this piece at that point. You're going to tear up your brand new key there, and you will also risk dropping it down into the drain. So just to illustrate that, yeah, don't do it at this point. Let me clean this up for you so you can see kind of what we're dealing with. And you can see the actual PVC pipe there now. So I'm going to just let it sit for about a good hour soaked in WD-40. Just spray the heck out of it and let it sit for an hour if it's giving you trouble. And then I'm going to take a flathead screwdriver and a hammer, and I'm going to go through each of those little castle nut, the little blocks, so to speak, on the castle nut. And I'm going to be giving it a few good smacks on each one. And I'm not going to focus on just one. I'm going to go round and round and hit all of them really well. You can see that there. The vibrations are me hitting that with the hammer. And at that point, it should start to loosen up for you. You do not want the whole darn thing to start rotating, meaning the whole drain unit. you want just that castle nut to start rotating. If it's not moving, hit it a little harder, be careful. And if it does start to, the whole thing starts to rotate on you, you might have to actually cut this thing out. But at this point, it started to move for me, so that's great news. And then I could use my new tool key to finish loosening that up, and then you should be able to do it by hand at that point. So that's how I approached this. Now, because I'm removing this entire shower pan or the shower base, I don't care about that little black gasket under there. Can you see that? You, I suppose, could take that off, but that with that castle nut removed, it really allows you to take it, disengages from the PVC drain. And then this is the piece that I suspect is underneath, kind of the underneath the pan. So unless you can get to that, again, you have to cut it out or take out the whole shower pan. So let's finish up the demo process. We've got everything unattached now. I went ahead and finished unscrewing everything, of course, from the wall. So this final piece should lift up right over that PVC drain. And we'll just kind of wedge it up right there. And that's pretty simple. There's what another shot of the drain coming up. And we'll get rid of these fiberglass pieces. Again, be really careful. They're so sharp. Make sure you have gloves on. There's a look at that jackrabbit. It looks like they installed a jackrabbit drain on the other side of that. All right, so that is it. We've got a demo, the whole fiberglass shower insert out, and the next video we'll be dealing with the new shower pan insert. I'm going to be tiling in other videos, and then I've got to rebuild the drain, of course, too. So be sure to subscribe if you want to watch more videos like this, and I do try to put out videos every week or so of various home projects around the house and also home product reviews. So thanks for being with me.